Well, so I asked Sam just the other day if he and Cindy could watch the kids for us next weekend. Sam said, Cindy told me I'm not allowed to watch the kids anymore. So obviously I asked, I might wish I didn't ask this, but can you tell me what happened? And so the story began. Cindy and I were asked to watch my two nephews for the weekend a few weeks ago, aged 9 and 11. Cindy did all the watches, so it was actually really easy until she needed to do some errands. She asked me to keep an eye on them and she'd be back as soon as she could. They were watching some stupid cartoons, so, not causing any issues, so it didn't matter to me either way. Kyle, the youngest, said he was hungry, and Stephen agreed. So I said, what kind of food do you kids even eat? Feeling frustrated as my plan was really to just watch the stupid show until Cindy got back. He's like, do you guys like eat pizza? And they both cheered yes. Well, then pizza it is, and they delivered. So Sam walked into the kitchen to the bowl on the counter. In the bowl, he had a cell phone in it and a set of keys. He stared at the bowl for a minute or two, and then they walked back into the living room. I grabbed the remote and shut off the TV. The kids yelled out, "No!" I grabbed the recliner chair, dragged it right in front of the couch as close as I could, and I sat and I stared at them. Give it back, I said in a stern voice. Stephen replied, give what back? Well, I repeated myself again with the very same tone. Give it back. Kyle said, we don't have nothing. I was getting madder and madder by the second. I've had a bowl in the kitchen for the last 20 years. Every single time I came home, in it I put my phone, wallet, keys. Well, I just walked into the kitchen and my wallet was missing from the bowl. It was there last night when I put it in. It was there this morning when I woke up, but now it's missing. The only thing different today from any other day is you two are here. And I pointed at each one of them. So I'll ask you one more time. Give it back. I did notice a little tear from Kyle. Steven seemed scared as well, but however, this wasn't really working. I decided I'm going to have to do some hardcore stuff on these two. So I leaned back in my chair. Did you guys ever hear the story about little Mikey? The kids shook their head. No. Mikey used to live down the street from you. Well, he used to anyway. You see, Mikey loved cookies, loved them more than anything in the world. Do you guys like cookies? They both nodded yes. There's a simple rule that everyone should follow. Don't take anything that's not yours. But Mikey really wanted a cookie so bad that he took one without asking. But guess what happened? He got caught. Do you know what happens in China when you get caught stealing? They cut off your hand! He yelled and karate chopped the armrest. The kids jumped. I had to interrupt Sam for a moment. You know that's not true, right? The chopping off hand thing in China? And Sam said, "Yeah, I heard something. I heard it somewhere, maybe in a movie. I don't know. But it was really working. You could see the fear they had." Sam continued on, "But we aren't in China. We are in America, and in America does things differently." His parents had to call the police, and the police came and arrested little Mikey. Well, they took him straight to jail and to begin his punishment. He was sentenced to be in jail until he was 21. How would you boys like to spend your entire child life in jail? They both nodded their head no. Well, let me tell you what happened to little Mikey. Mikey walked down a long row of cells. The inmates reached out to him trying to grab him. They finally arrived at his cell and the door opened. There, right in front of him, was his new cellmate, Big Sal. He was sitting on the toilet at that exact moment, taking a big poop while staring right at Mikey. Have you guys ever had to watch someone poop before? They both shook their head, getting more and more scared, and said no. Mikey was pushed right into the cell, and the door closed. Big Sal stood up and started wiping while he was continuing to stare at Mikey. Mikey noticed the bunk beds and saw Big Sal's stuff on the bottom bunk. He quickly ran to the ladder and started climbing up, but he was grabbed quickly by Big Sal. He said, "You're sleeping with me." Mikey was terrified. Big Sal got into the bottom bunk and then lifted the sheet, motioning for Mikey to come get in. He said, "It's cuddle time. Come on in." Big Sal laughed. Mikey didn't move a muscle. He said, "I'm not going to ask you twice." Mikey slowly walked towards the bed. Big Sal grabbed his arm and pulled him in. Big Sal took off his shirt, which exposed his sweaty and hairy body. Hours and hours later, the cell door finally opened. "Time to eat," Big Sal said. Outside of the cell, a line of inmates were walking to the cafeteria. Big Sal and Mikey joined the line. A little later, they were now in the food line. Mikey was trying to see what was on everyone's plate. They got closer and closer to the server. Finally, it was Mikey's turn to get some food. First was a scoop of some type of stew. Uh, the second was a scoop of what looked like could have been mashed potatoes, but then they placed a cookie on his plate. He felt excitement all through his body. And then he even thought to himself, this jail thing really isn't as bad as he thought. Micah sat right down, right next to Big Sal without a care in the world. He reached for that cookie. But then Big Sal grabbed his hand and shook it out of him. He took Mikey's cookie and placed it on his own plate. A small tear started forming in Mikey's eyes, but he knew that they don't allow any crying in jail or else. He didn't know what the or else meant, but he knew it was not good. He tried the stew, which tasted like complete dirt. He then tried the mashed potatoes, which was equally just as awful. He ate enough of each to just not feel hungry. Finally, they went back to the cell. Day in and day out, it was the same thing. Watching Big Sal poop, cuddle time, the same food, and Big Sal taking his cookie. Every single day it was the same thing. However, one day the cell door opened first thing in the morning. Two correction officers had Big Sal gather his things. But Big Sal waved. He said waved goodbye and he was gone. Mikey flew out of the bunk, finally, the cell to himself, and the top bunk. This was starting to work out, he thought. He then remembered the cookie. No Big Sal to take his cookie. He could not believe it. Then the cell door opened again. A man way bigger than Big Sal stood there, and his stuff was in his hands. The officer said, "Hey, Mikey, meet John Bones. They call him Bones because he ate his victims right down to the bones." The officers laughed. Mikey felt sick to his stomach. Tears again began to form, but he fought them back. The two boys on the couch were popping their eyes out of their head. They couldn't handle much more of this. Bones laid in the bottom bunk and left Mikey alone, which was a good thing. A couple hours later, the cell door opened. It was time to eat and time to get that cookie. Bones and Mikey both got in line to start getting their food. The same stuff they've been served every single day, but this day Mikey didn't care. He sits right next to Bones without hesitation, picking up his cookie. Bones slaps his hand down and the cookie drops on the plate. Bones said, "Who raised you that way? Dessert is always last. Eat your meal first. And then here's my cookie as well, after you eat the rest." Mikey started shoveling the food in his mouth as fast as he could. He was filling up quick, but he knew he had room for the cookies. He took his last bite and swallowed. This was it. It was cookie time. He took a large bite out of the cookie. It immediately broke apart in his mouth and turned to complete dust. He choked on the dust and started spitting it out on the plate. He looked down the table and noticed that no one around touched their cookie. He looked around at the other tables and it was the same thing. Nobody is eating their cookie. A tear formed in his eye and it rolled right down his cheek. He quickly wiped it away. Bones whispered, "You make sure to eat all your meals. I like my desserts with extra meat on the bone." And that did it. Finally, Mikey broke. He started crying out loud and he couldn't control it anymore. All of the prisoners gathered around, staring at Mikey. Mikey was about to find out what does else mean. The door opened suddenly, and it was Cindy returning from her errands. She called out, "Sam, you left your wallet in the car again. That's the third time this week." Sam felt pretty awkward at this moment. He stared at the boys. "So, you guys still up for pizza?" The boys immediately jumped right up from the couch, screaming and running, and they cried all the way down the hall. Cindy came in and asked, "What the hell did you do?" And Sam replied, "I don't know. I just offered them some pizza." So I interrupted. I said, "So let me ask you, Sam. So you scared the holy crap out of your nephews because you left your wallet in Cindy's car?" Sam replied, "Yep, yeah, that's pretty much what happened. And so now I can't watch the kids anymore."